The man on the right that you see there is Clark Barrington. It is time for his weekly appearance here on the Locked On Cougars podcast. We talk about USF, the season opener, him being named a team captain, and a whole lot more on today's edition of Locked On Cougars.
You are Locked On Cougars, your daily podcast on the BYU Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jake Hatch, your host here on Locked On Cougars, your resident BYU insider. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Always appreciate you guys checking out the show. We are very proud to be part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where, of course, the motto is your team every day. And as such, this is your only daily podcast focused on the BYU Cougars. You guys know me. You probably know the guy on the right, but he is I'm pointing the wrong way. Pointing to the right here, if you're watching this on YouTube, that's Clark Barrington, BYU offensive lineman. Clark, thanks for coming back. How are you, sir?
Doing well.
Hey, that's good to hear. Absolutely. Yeah. Let's start here today on the show. It's game week. We have finally made it. You guys are just literally days away from starting the season at USF. Kind of just give me a sense for how you're feeling personally, and just kind of give me the sense of how the team feels with this game not too far off.
Yeah, for sure. We're all super excited. We can finally see the light at the end of the tunnel, and there's something to work towards. And so we're all excited. The energy's high, and just trying to do our best to prepare ourselves the best we can. So,
can you express to our listeners, when it comes to preparing for a season opener like this, you've gone through an entire month's worth of training camp, 17, 18 practices at this point. I don't know how many, probably more than that. Can you express like how much, how excited you are to not have to face the same defensive lineman on a day in and day out basis and actually go against another opponent?
Yeah, it's super nice. Going against the same guys every day, it's good. It gets you better, and you're able to learn, the ins and outs of what they're doing. But, it's nice to change it up and be able to play against some other guys and plan and like game plan against different looks and that type of stuff too. And so it's always fun when the games start coming around.
This is a question I get thrown at me all the time in the media. People are always asking me the question, Jake, how much better will the defensive line be this year? So I'm going to kind of throw it at you. You face these guys on like I said, on a day in and day out basis in practice. We know that the defensive line had some of its issues down the stretch last year, mainly due to injury, but how much better do you think they are as a unit right now?
For sure. Yeah. They're coming back bigger and better. I know each of the guys have been in the weight room working hard in the offseason, getting bigger, stronger, faster, and we got a good group out there, and they're looking good, and I think they're ready to show what they've got to the rest of the country. So it'll be exciting to see them play, and I'm really excited for those guys.
Now, Clark, earlier this week, you were named a team captain. There are 8 captains this year on the squad. What does that mean to you personally to be voted as a captain by your teammates?
Yeah, honestly, it's a huge compliment. I'm grateful that the others see me as a leader, and I try to do my best just to do the right thing, whether it's on the field or off the field. Work as hard as I can, in school, on the field, in life, and I'm just trying to be that kind of good example, I guess, and so it's it's a blessing to be able to be considered a team captain on this team. So it's cool.
Is that something that you have ever aspired to be, to have that captaincy on your jersey? Was that something you hope to accomplish at some point in your career, or did you not really care all that much?
I've always seen myself as a leader, and I've seen myself as just someone that tries to do the right thing in every situation. And so whether it was going to be with the C on my chest or not, it was whatever. But I'm just happy that it's happened. It's a cool experience.
you earlier this week, I had heard that Coach Roderick, he was on that Coordinator's Corner show with Greg Wrubell, and he was asked to name his fall camp or training camp MVP. And I'm not going to lie, my jaw about hit the ground when he said Clark Barrington was his pick as his training camp MVP. And it's not that I was all that surprised by it, because I think you've been a very consistent player. And that's what he highlighted, your consistency on a day in, day out basis. He also said your toughness stood out to him. But I honestly, I expected him to name some wide receiver or running back. We talked about this last week, the pretty boys on the squad. But what does that mean to you that he would single out a left guard for his offensive line as the training camp MVP for the offense?
Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, this is the first time I've heard that, but I guess I must have missed that press conference. But no, it's cool. I just, like I said, I try to go in and put in the work every day and try to get better. And so I'm just doing my thing, trying to be the best I can be. So
you and I have talked off and on throughout the years about different things you've tried to add to your skill set. I want to ask you in particular, this training camp, was there anything in particular you focused on? Because you played a lot of games, you started a lot of different matchups, that type of stuff. But is there one or two things that you focused on really heavily coming into this season?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was just consistency. Not having a good play here or there, or good hand placement here or there, or good set or whatever it may be, but just being consistently good. And I think that's just the biggest thing. Consistently have the right set on the right technique or whatever. And if I can do that, then I can play well. So just focusing on just being consistently good.
Well, and that's exactly what Coach Aaron Roderick said. He said your consistency, you day in and day out. He said the toughness you displayed, it's what he admired about that. And he also highlighted just the fact that you're teaming up with Blake Freeland on that left side of the offensive line. By the way, you obviously, I would assume, know the movie Remember the Titans and the whole left side, strong side thing.
Yeah.
Do you, Blake, and this just popped into my head literally as I'm talking here, but do you and Blake ever kind of like left side, strong side? Because you guys are that force on the left side of that offensive line.
Yeah, I think wherever you play at, whatever side of the line it is, you want it to be that strong side. And so, there's that mindset for sure. That, hey, if we're in a tight situation, I want them to be able to trust me and call a play right behind me and Blake or wherever it may be, and trust that we'll be able to convert the third down or score the touchdown or whatever it may be. So yeah, I think it's just a mindset that really goes into playing O-line as a whole. Is that you want to be that guy that they can count on.
Yeah, it goes back to that consistency factor. I completely understand that. All right, Clark, I want to talk a little more in specific about USF, your guys' season opening opponent. We'll get to that momentarily, but first I need to share a word with our listeners about our friends over at BetOnline. They are the fastest and the easiest way to check in on all of your betting needs. Find all of your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, college football, NBA, college hoops, NHL, combat sports, esports, and golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They have got you covered. Just a tip for you guys, if you're out there and you wonder about the line for BYU and USF this week, it's sitting currently BYU favored by 12 points. So head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action available and happening today online. That's all courtesy of your friends at BetOnline, where the game starts. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day as we continue on with Clark Barrington, BYU team captain now and left guard for the BYU offensive line. And Clark, correct me if I'm wrong here, but 2019 was the first time that BYU and USF squared off. You guys squared off down there at Raymond James Stadium. There were two notable first-time starters in that lineup that day that I can recall vividly. Jaron Hall got his first start as a BYU quarterback, made some history as the first black quarterback to start a game for BYU. But there was some guy wearing the number 56 also in that lineup making his first career start. Can you just take us back to that day? Can you remember your first start down there in 2019?
Oh, for sure. I can remember it. It was interesting for sure. There had been some injuries and whatnot on the line. And so, I was the next guy up, and I was playing left guard right between Brady and James. Or no, I was playing right guard in that game between Keanu and James. And, I just remember it being super hot, super humid. I'd been in the 2 reps before that, and so I wasn't getting as many reps at practice as the ones, and so maybe I was a little out of shape.
Okay, fair enough.
And so I was huffing and puffing all game long, and just doing my best to hold my own out there, and ended up playing next to 3 different right tackles in that game, and we ended up losing, but that's just kind of what happened.
See, that's the thing about that. I don't think every game's made different, because Jaron Hall was lost in that game. I think Baylor Romney had to come in and finish out that game at quarterback. Like, there were a number of injuries in that matchup, and so I think every game is kind of its own unique thing that you can separate them. But at the same time, we as fans and the media, we kind of look at seasons as a whole. But if you kind of parse it out, you look at these individual games, you're like, yeah, well, that USF game had a whole lot happening in it. So
it did for sure.
So you guys obviously are headed to USF this weekend. You mentioned the fact that you remember the heat and the humidity from that game, and that one was in October. You guys are going here in early September, so I would only assume it's going to be A, more hot, and B, more humid. So you as an offensive lineman, how do you prepare for games like this?
Yeah, I feel like the staff and coaches and players, we've done a lot better this season than in the past to help just prepare for that heat, that humidity. We've been practicing, at midday when it's hottest here on the turf, and getting us the most heat we can, so we're used to it. And then, just the nutrition, the hydration, we're staying on top of that, and they have us on certain schedules and plans to keep our bodies, right. And so that when we do go down there, it doesn't affect us as much. And so I think we're doing a really good job at preparing our bodies that way. So
I've talked to enough athletes in my career that they have like secret things they use for hydration. Most people consider pickle juice kind of the I guess the X factor. Do you guys drink pickle juice at BYU? Do you guys use other methods to keep yourself hydrated, and especially to avoid cramps and all that heat and humidity?
Yeah, for sure. There are these little like pickle juice shot things that we've been taking. There's also just like Pedialyte packets and that type of stuff, just replenish the electrolytes, and so there's a couple different means that we're going about it, but yeah.
There's a lot made of this annually when BYU travels 2 times. When you guys go back to the East Coast, you're going to do it twice this year, if I'm not mistaken. You're going to USF this week, and then later on in October, you guys head back to Lynchburg, Virginia, to take on Liberty.
Yep.
Do you consider the 2 time zone travel, that long a travel, does it affect you in your mind, or do you feel like it's a non-factor?
Yeah, I feel like it's a non-factor. I don't think it's too bad of a thing. Yeah, I don't feel the effects of it that much. So,
but you guys are going out early, obviously, for this game to get yourself somewhat acclimated and everything. But the biggest thing is, I heard you earlier this week as well. You said that your brother Campbell was your roommate on the road last year. Are you anticipating that being the case again this year?
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it'll be. I don't know. It just happened, and it works good with me and with him. And, it's kind of a natural thing, growing up, sharing a room together. And so it's just like we're back in the good old days.
I'm just trying to imagine 2 guys, and you obviously weren't 300-pounders back in high school, but you guys are still pretty big dudes playing offensive line in high school. I'm trying to imagine you 2 sharing the same room and trying just to live essentially together. I don't know. It's hard to compute in my brain. I shared a room with my brother, just younger than me, most of my life as well. But we're both like 6 foot, 200-pound dudes. We're not 6 and 6'5" like you and your brother. How did that go?
No, it wasn't too bad. It was honestly a pretty large room. I think we had 2 full beds or 2 queen beds in there. So, there was plenty of space for us to move around and do what we needed to do. So it was good.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm just the thought of two future D1 offensive linemen. I consider both of you guys NFL prospects sharing a room is just, it's fascinating to think about in my mind. And I just kind of one of those funny things. All right. So Clark, USF, obviously you guys beat them last year at home at Lavelle Edwards Stadium. Can you share some of your thoughts about that matchup a year ago? You guys got off to a really good start, and then they really kind of rallied in the second half of that game. But share what you remember of that matchup.
Yeah, I just, every year we've played them, they're physical, fast, great athletes, and we really need to come with our A game, or it could go either way. And it was a great game. We did the best we could. And they had that fight to stay right in there with us, and we were lucky enough to pull it out in the end. But I think it's gonna be the same way this year. We need to show up prepared, ready to go, and ready to play our best, because they're gonna be ready to play their best. And so we just got to be prepared for all the situations that might arise in that game. So.
You're obviously studying film alongside your fellow offensive linemen, the entire offense as a whole. They've got a new defensive coordinator. They also have new offensive coordinator for that matter, but Bob Shoop is their new defensive coordinator. When it comes to matchups like this, where you don't necessarily know how they are going to attack you exactly because there's no film on that, but I kind of drew the comparison, and I threw this out in some of the media sessions earlier this week, to Arizona a year ago. You guys didn't necessarily know what to expect from Arizona a year ago going into that matchup. I guess this is a two-part question. We'll start off with number one. Does the Arizona game last year and some of the unknowns you guys had going into that help you guys in preparation for this matchup?
Yeah, I think for sure. I think through that matchup we realized that it's more important for us to know ourselves better going into that game than maybe knowing them as well as we can, because we don't know what they're going to throw out there. And so if we know how to run our stuff against every front and blitz and whatever it may be, then we'll be better off in the game, and we'll be better off against whatever they throw at us. And so we're just really focusing on perfecting our craft and perfecting, what we're doing, and against, all those different looks to prepare for, what may be thrown at us. So.
Well, and that's kind of part two. You kind of answered it there a little bit, but with Coach Shoop, have you guys watched film of his other places he's coached at? Like, how are you guys preparing to hopefully be ready for what he's going to throw at you?
Yeah, for sure. We've watched lots of film on the other places he's been at, and the other defenses he's run. The other places he's been at, and that's really a main study of what we're doing. And then we're studying the things that USF did last year, and just seeing their personnel and those guys that are still around, seeing how they played against us. And so, just trying to piece it all together and put together the puzzles.
Well, I think that's an underrated aspect you just highlighted there is knowing the personnel. You faced a bunch of these guys a year ago in Provo, and they're still the same guys. They obviously have probably worked on their skills like you've worked on yours, but at the same time, you've got experience at least facing off against some of these guys.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And that's a big thing. I feel like, just going back, seeing how you played against them, what they try to do against you, and just also what they tried to do the rest of the year, towards the end of the year last year as well. And so that's a big deal.
All right, we will round out this edition of the Clark Barrington Show here in just a moment. I want to get his thoughts. We had some suggestions, Clark, by the way, for some new show names potentially. We'll run them by you. We'd like to finish off these shows. That's kind of what I want to do with this, is have some fun with you in our final stanza here on the show. We'll get to that here as we continue on with Locked On Cougars. Want to remind you guys to make sure you check out the Locked On Big 12 podcast. It's where BYU is going to be playing in 2023 and beyond as members of the Big 12 Conference. Get it free and available wherever you get your podcast or on YouTube like this show. Josh Neighbors does an incredible job getting you up to speed on everything going on with the Big 12, so check that out. Clark, all right. So we're going to have some fun here as we round out this edition of the show. But I've got two show name suggestions that were sent in from our last conversation. We threw it out there. Said, if you guys got ideas, let us know. I've kind of gone with the Clark Barrington Show, and we'll stick with that until you give me the green light on something else. So I got two of them for you this week, and we'll continue to solicit names. First one, they want to call it the CB Show. And so the reason why the person sent this in, and I apologize, I misplaced the name. I actually closed out of the tab I had it pulled up in, so I apologize for that gaffe. But they said the reason why is they are actually a CB radio operator. And he said, you know what? You can use a lot of the terminology we use in CB radio, but at the same time, it's Clark's initials, CB, the CB show. And so thoughts on that one?
Yeah, no, that's creative, interesting, you know. I don't know. It's cool.
Okay, we got one other one here. I think this one came from Mandy Jones, and I might be mistaken on that one, but Mandy suggested this, and this is the one. Okay, if we're gonna change the name, this is the leader in the clubhouse for me. Let me be very upfront about this. On the line with Clark Barrington.
That's cool too. I don't know.
She said, her suggestion was because it operates in two different facets. Obviously, you play offensive line, but at the same time, you're on the line with us.
Right. No, that's good. That's a good one.
So we'll continue to workshop this. If you got suggestions, we'd love to hear from you. You can tweet at us, message us. Clark's on Instagram. We'll get him on Twitter at some point. We gotta open you up to the Twitterverse, Clark. Come on now.
Yeah, I'll get on there soon.
Absolutely. All right. So a couple other questions before we go here, Clark. So when it comes to traveling on the road, I want you to tell our listeners about your first experience with a charter flight traveling to an away game at BYU.
Yeah, you know, BYU does it very, very nicely. You know, as you're getting onto the plane, you know, they have the meal there for you to pick it up. You know, whether it be some burritos from Costa Vida or some chicken and rice from Teriyaki Grill or whatever it is. You know, you're grabbing your food there, and you're grabbing some Powerade, some water, and then you walk onto the plane, and then there's a sub sandwich sitting in your seat as well. So if you didn't get enough food outside, there's already some food waiting for you in your seat as well as a snack bag with some chips, cookies, you know, candy bars, whatever else you need, and another bag of drinks there as well. And so you're definitely not going to go hungry or thirsty on these chartered flights. And they're sure to put the big guys up front where we get a little bit extra leg room as well. So they're for sure spoiling us on those.
Okay, so I was going to ask you, you mentioned burritos from Costa Vida, but then you mentioned all the other food that's already on the plane. So use off linemen, you guys are eating, and I know that every player playing football, you guys are all eating a ton of calories on a daily basis, but using offensive linemen, are we saying you're getting an extra burrito or two, or like what are we looking at here?
No, honestly, I don't even finish all that food. It's a lot, honestly. It's pick or choose, you know, whatever is your favorite, and you eat that. But you know, they spoil us for sure.
Is there an undisputed like king of the training table, just a dude that can just eat the most food on the team that you can think of?
Oh gosh, I think I would have to give it to Tyler Little.
Really?
I've never seen a dude eat more than that guy. It's actually crazy.
Like, are we talking like how much can he put down? Like multiple burrito type deal? Like,
he'll come. Oh yeah, he'll come back. Like we had the one thing that sticks out to me. We had a coconut shrimp.
Okay.
And he came back with, not even joking, like a pile of coconut shrimp on his plate. Like it had to have been at least 30 pieces of shrimp. And that was along with 2 other plates of food that he had already sitting at the table too. So he was munching big time, but he can eat some food.
Okay, well, and Tyler's background, I don't know how many people know this. He's listed as, I think, your backup at left guard actually on the depth chart, if I'm not mistaken. But when he got to BYU, he was a pretty skinny dude. He's like 6'8" or something like that. But I think he was weighing like 250 when he got to BYU. So is all that food packed on the weight he needs to be an adequate offensive lineman?
I think he's put on weight. I think he's around 285, 290 now, and still continue to put on weight, and he's looking good. And you know, he's putting on good weight, and so that's good. And he's getting stronger and bigger. So yeah, he'll be good in the future for sure.
Jeez, a mound of coconut shrimp and then 2 other plates.
It blows my mind every time I see it.
It's a prodigious amount of food. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
And Clark, life on the road for you guys as football players, you mentioned the fact that like BYU does it right with the charter flights and everything, but can you just tell me, well, I guess this is putting you on the spot a little bit. Is there like a memorable trip in your mind that you've been on a bunch of these charter flights, been on road trips multiple times over the years, but is there one or two in your mind that stick out? Is it kind of a funny moment or just a memorable trip in your mind?
Honestly, not that I can think of right now. Every trip is fun. Every trip is different. They keep us busy with meetings and walkthroughs and practice. But we always go and do like a team movie before the game. The night before the game, just to try to, get our minds off it a little bit and take a little break. It's always a good time at the movies with the boys. But every trip's fun and it's just a good time to be with everybody around there. So.
When it comes to movies, what does the team favor? Comedies, action? What are we looking at?
Honestly, even if the movie's like terrible, we always find some way to have a good time. So, it's nice when you can run out the theater and be all by ourselves, so we can yell and scream and do whatever we want in there. And so, we always make it a good time, whether it's a quality movie or not. So.
Yeah, fair enough. I can respect that. You guys gonna have a lot of fun with that. By the way, who picks the movies? Like, do you know who does? Is it Kalani? Who makes that call?
I have no idea, to be honest. We give some input and then somebody makes the final decision. I don't know.
Well, we need you to dig into that. We need you to report back next week on who ultimately makes the call in the movies. Okay?
We'll do.
Right. Okay. Last thing before we go here, Clark, we'll get you out of here on a fun one here. You come from a very athletic family. I think we highlighted this last week. You had parents who were Division I athletes. You have a sister who plays Division I basketball. Your younger brother is a player, one of your teammates for BYU. And okay, who is the most competitive member of your family? Is it you? Like who is it? Who's the most competitive member of the Barrington clan?
Oh gosh.
And by the way,
I don't know.
Let me caution you. You got to answer correctly here. You know this, right?
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. All of the girls in the family hate when the guys play games with them because we get so mad and frustrated so quickly. And so they're like, how about you guys just sit this one out and we'll play this one by ourselves? So my dad, Campbell, and I, we get pretty competitive and it comes out no matter what we're doing. So
it can be tiddlywinks, it can be basketball.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Okay. Well, okay, in the Hatch family growing up, I grew up, so I'm the oldest of 7 kids. There's 6 boys and a girl in my family. I think you and I have talked about this off air before, but in my family, there have been multiple times a game board has been literally just kind of thrown across the room because somebody got so frustrated with the game. Has that ever happened to the Barrington household?
Not too much because we know everybody would be really mad at us if we did that. But there's been times where it's been threatened for sure.
Family dynamics, they're unique. There's no doubt about that. Well, Clark,
for sure.
Fantastic to catch up with you. Looking forward to this week against USF. We'll obviously recap that next week and obviously look forward to the home opener against Baylor when you join us next week. But best of luck this week, and thanks for taking the time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, there you go. That is going to do it for today's edition of the podcast. I want to remind you guys the ultimate the ultimate pro football preview 2022 is going on. It's an 8-episode extravaganza. Get you ready for the NFL season. The local team experts of the Locked On Podcast Network, as well as Odyssey NFL Insiders, are all combining into one ultimate NFL preview. Search for the Ultimate Pro Preview 2022 on your Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. That's Clark. I'm Jake. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Have a good one. This has been the Locked On Cougars podcast. See ya.